Hi everyone, I'm so happy that you're here to join me for the Way of the Animal podcast. So in today's podcast, Alastair's back with me and you had an idea for today's conversation.
I did. It came from sort of watching other people working with animals and seeing other people through the years with animals. And I don't quite know what the title is for the topic, but it's sort of that people's ability to see an animal and it's not even really understand it, but even just read its body language. Do you know what I mean?
So you mean just like, yeah. It's interesting because it's a lot of, for me, it's a lot of what I like to teach people.
Yep.
Is and what I call connection.
Yep.
Because to help animals in any way, and certainly when I was doing my dog behavior stuff, it was being able to tell when your dog was starting to get upset and not when it's at the point where it's so loud and obvious that the dog's just completely lost its marbles and just needs removed from the situation to allow it to calm down. You know, it's like, so it's definitely a really interesting topic.
I think that's kind of where I'm coming at it from, is the seeing things before it's blown up to level 11.
And I think deep down, I think some of the problem is feeling things.
Yep.
So it's like it's more. So I know a lot of people talk about body language, and we've talked about it a lot with your position when you're moving cattle and horses and things like that.
Yep.
Anything where they're kind of herd animals, so you can direct them by your positioning alongside their body, because
where you stand,
you can influence where they go, and you'll see that they'll do it to each other in the same way to herd each other and things. And so a lot of people talk about body language, but for me, I think that any person who talks about body language and is looking for the signs with their eyes, I think you're actually feeling the signs, but you're not even recognizing that. So it's like, for me, it's a much deeper topic than just looking at the animals, and I think that gets lost even.
I think you're 100% right there, because you can tell how an animal is, but sometimes, so I'll be checking cows or something, and there's something not right with that cow. Well, how do you know there's something not right? Well, there's just something not right. Like, I don't know how I know. You just know. And I'm sure it's tiny little bits of information that you're taking in about her, but it's that way that you couldn't explain it.
Yes, and that's why when you mentioned this topic, the first thing I said to you after I was like, well, that's a good idea. I sort of thought about it briefly. Was, well, that's why I teach people about connecting and becoming aware with themselves. Because when you know how you feel as a person and you're connected and aware of where you're at and how you are, when you feel the presence or the energy of another animal or even person, you'll know that that's what you're feeling and it's not your own.
Yeah, that's it. So the one that got me thinking about it was handling cattle the other day. And over the years, I've worked with varying levels of people. Some people who are very aware of the influence they're having on an animal, and some who seem completely oblivious to the effect they're having on it. And I don't mean like the macro effects, the big movements. If I run at it, it moves over there. I mean the little ones, like you're annoying that animal by just standing there. Like your presence is, whether it's threatening or it's nervous, whatever it is, you're upsetting it. And if you keep doing that, you upset it further. And that, do you know what I mean?
And it's interesting because, I think it can translate even to like, we're at squeaky toy time. I don't know if that mic's picking that up, but Puppy's found a squeaky door. Even that, I feel like people who don't recognize animals' behavior to them don't always recognize other people's behavior to them either.
Yeah,
so
you're probably right.
It goes right back into self-awareness, and then the greater awareness of those around you, whether they're human animals or animals, not seeing the effect you're having.
So my bigger question with it was, is it something, because some people just naturally have it, and some people it seems impossible to teach. So,
I was thinking about that. If you don't mind me taking the point here, and you can expand more, is I wonder if part of it's like upbringing.
Maybe.
Not necessarily parents' influence. Yes, that can be part of it, but even so much as time spent around animals on your own, or, sort of kind of, and it's even so much as people who have found solace in animals when they're younger years, or any years really, who seem to create that deeper connection, understanding with them, and sort of empathy. I think, sometimes it's that lacking of empathy, and that can expand from if they're not empathizing with animals, they're not empathizing with other humans around them either. But it's just interesting, I'm just thinking about my upbringing. Obviously, I was fortunate to have horses around me a lot, and my mom's a really gentle person with animals, and so I kind of was brought up with a very listening approach to them, and not a bullyish approach.
Yeah.
And I think in doing that, you learn the subtleties more.
I would agree. And I think you can learn more and expand how you're doing things. But I know, for me, in the experiences I've had with various people and various animals, it feels like you could get a group of 20 people who have never had anything to do with an animal, never seen an animal in their life, and get them to interact with animals, and some of them would just know how.
And I think they're people who are just better connected with the world and themselves. I think it's just about...
So do you think that's what it is? It's the self-connection and awareness that then allows them to be aware of
We're animals. There's no way that it's like, well, some of you just can't.
Oh, I'm not saying can't. It's just... my strong belief, because I believe that any person that came up to me who was struggling with connecting with animals, I would be able to talk them through, teach them through how to do that. And a lot of the doing is about being. So, that's the whole thing. So I feel like, yes, some people naturally get it really easy. Some people are receiving it and not realizing. So like receiving the connection, they're sort of, and the minute you point it out, they get it. Yeah.
And then some people actually, I feel like it's more about working on yourself first.
Yeah.
To be able to see the wider picture of the connection around you.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's something to do with not being so stuck in your own head. And because there's a difference between being aware of yourself and being stuck in your own head, and I think that's the thing, is if they're more aware of themselves, then they're more aware of picking up on the subtle hints and things they're getting. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think a lot of it comes down to awareness and how you're being, how you're feeling. And if you're like not in a good place, you're gonna, the energy and the feelings and the emotions that are gonna be around you and coming out of you are not gonna be good for any animal. You know what I mean? Yeah. But if you're not even aware that you're not feeling good and that's why you are angry and upset, there's a whole thing there, there's a whole intricacy of understanding and awareness of yourself. And I think that's why, for me, with connecting with animals, that's such an important part of it, is because, you know, I've known days, we were talking about it, you know, where you work in cattle and you get really frustrated and you behave in a way that isn't right with the animals. You know, you become more sort of, quotation, aggressive.
More
you know,
bullish.
you're more bullish, you're more pushy because you're just frustrated and getting fed up, you're getting tired, you're getting hungry, whatever.
And all the time, you know that if you just take the time, it's always easier.
I mean, and at that point, if you're there and I'm just going, this is just not going well, I will quite often just step back, I just need to go and calm down and come back at this. And sometimes you can do it on your own without me, or it's just like, we just need a breather.
Yep.
And then, but it's like, it's easy with animals sometimes to become frustrated because there's a gap right there and they're not seeing it, and you're waiting and waiting and waiting, and
especially when you're trying to get a job done.
Yeah. And there's other, you know, there's the human pressures that create this
it's
time
even the same when
frame.
you're training a dog or a horse or something like that.
And just some days it's easier to be patient, and some days it's not.
It's very true.
And I think it's good, like, to recognize that and to take that breath and take that step back. But I mean, there's just, I don't know, this is just, it's such a big topic, but I believe everyone can connect with animals. I feel like, I don't know why, but some people are much better at it, just naturally much better at it. And even people you wouldn't expect to be better at it are better at it and don't even realize that they are.
Yes.
You know, I've seen that before.
That's it. But yeah, I guess that's the thing. It's like, what makes people, and I don't know. I feel like it's possibly where they are in their sort of journey of sort of self-discovery in life and things. Because definitely people, more sensitive people, seem to pick it up a bit easier. But I like you. I think everyone can learn to a degree. But then it comes back to that, if you learn, then you're looking at the animal and identifying the markers for body language, and you know there's a temptation to get to it that way. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I think when you're doing that, you've already lost as you would say, the feel.
But I think so what I would call the in the head approach by the sort of looking and seeing what's going on, I think you can't help but feel it. It's just you don't realize you're feeling it yet. Yeah. I think that people, when they start, you know, what was that woman's name? That really good book about the signs of dog behavior and stuff. My mind has gone completely blank. She, you know, it's just learning that subtlety of change. And like I said in one of the previous podcasts, like the dog, my dog's being sort of a bit sensitive and, you know, sometimes like nervous, aggressive and stuff, or reactive, has allowed me to see and feel those subtle changes. Yeah. But initially I would say I was probably seeing them before I was feeling them, you know. It was just, and then now I can feel, don't need to be looking at them, I can feel the energy shift. Yes, you can feel it without seeing it. But I think it's okay to approach it with that thinking. Okay, so if if your learning is the understanding of the physical, you are going to learn the feel through it. Yeah. So then, do you think people who are good at reading animals and understanding and feeling animals are good at doing it to people? Yes. That was a very definite yes. Well, you're good at reading people and I'm good at reading people and we're good at reading animals. I sometimes debate whether I'm good at reading people or not. Oh, really? I think you are. Yeah. It's interesting. I think through learning so much about connecting with animals, I am much better at feeling into people and developing those intuitive skills and things. And so if I was someone who watched people doing things with animals or with their dogs, or I don't understand how you're seeing that, how you're feeling that, how would I improve it? what I would say is watch more. So more observation, watching your own animals, or if you don't have your own animals that you can see, that you can go and see in whatever way it is, whether it's cows in the field, dogs in the park, cats, neighbour's cat strolling through your garden, and watch and try and feel into what they're thinking and feeling as they're doing things. Watch when they are smelling the air, and think, oh, what could they be smelling? Which way's the wind coming from? And just kind of really be in that, what we've talked about before, present moment with them.
Yeah.
But observation is key, and that I learned a lot of that from T-Touch, which is the Tellington Touch, with Linda Tellington-Jones's stuff, is that through observation is where you find all the subtle signs. Okay. And then you can help your animals in what way you need to through that.
Yeah.
And, so we would do free work that was developed by Sarah Fisher. I'm just saying all the names so you can look it up for anyone who's interested, where we would set up a load of different sort of, they're not really obstacles, but objects in a room. Mm-hmm. And then we'd take any kind of collar, harness, whatever off of a dog. And then we'd put sort of big crunchy treats, we'd put soft, chewy treats, licky things, like peanut butter on a lick mat and things like that, and put them in the room, let them go, and then we'd sit and watch them. So you could watch if they always went clockwise, if they always turned to the left, when they took a breath, if they took a breath, what their breath was like, how they held their tail, was their tail straight, was it squint, when they started to speed up because something maybe, we would start to perhaps try and figure out why, but the why wasn't important, so they'd maybe speed up, they slowed down, certain things they'd find stimulating, certain things would slow them down, calm them down, and you could see they would self-soothe, so they'd find something that would overstimulate them to start moving faster within the objects in the room, and then they'd go back to something that had obviously soothed them, and would do that. And quite often the licking was a very soothing one, so they'd go and start licking again, and they would then move off in a slow, and you'd see them take a breath, and it was just, that was so vital to me in understanding the dogs. I mean, it worked with anything, but understanding the dogs, and we would postulate about why perhaps these things were happening, but like I said, that wasn't necessarily important. What was important was you were finding the things that the dogs found stimulating and sort of would get them all uptight, and you were finding the things that would help calm them, so you would then have more tools in your box to help calm your dog. And it was really interesting, I've always talked about it, is that animals will always try and rebalance themselves. Yes. So they get overstimulated, they try and calm themselves. If they can't, then, they start to get worse and worse. And that's where, if you're good, you can come in and help calm them, But sometimes when the owner came in, it didn't help calm them. It was overstimulating, So it was fascinating. And it's kind of a side shoot from what we're talking about. But definitely I feel if people are wanting to learn how to connect with animals and understand animals, you need to watch them. You need to watch how they behave. You need to learn the subtleties of their own communication between their own kind, or even between a dog and their human, their guardian, is understanding how they interact and seeing that, and seeing like how, some dogs find touch stimulating, some dogs find it soothing. It's like, it's just totally understanding the ins and outs of all those subtleties. And it's hard to say, coming into sort of, I suppose, someone who would be wanting to do ranching work and wanting to work with cattle and stuff, is they would have to spend some time watching the cattle, watch how they move each other around, watch what they do. And then when you're in with them and they're just grazing, watch how some cattle feel uptight within your presence, some don't. When you're moving them, how some need a lot of distance to direct them, and some want need you up close to keep them going the right way. But it's about understanding and observing.
Yes.
Sorry, I've gone on for a long time,
No,
but it's like
you've not. It's very interesting. I think the thing that keeps coming back up to me is, and I've known several people like this over the years, that if they sat and watched the animals, they wouldn't see. Do you know what I mean?
I think I think they've got to want to.
Maybe that's it. I don't know.
You know, and I think it's a time and a day and age where we are human, we are better. All animals must bow down to us, and you know we can bully and make them do what we want them to do just by being humans. And that, for me, that time is long past. And I think in my hypersensitivity, I never want to be around an animal that is that stressed out and scared.
Yep.
So that, for me, has allowed me to really come into that subtleties that I've been talking about. So I think they've got to want to understand that it's an animal and have some compassion towards the animals and that they have feelings and that, you know, what you do affects them. What you do affects the whole herd.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it probably does come down to a being present thing as well.
Yeah. And aware.
Because I'm just trying to picture the idea of someone sitting and watching a field of horses or cows or whatever.
I mean, it's helpful if there's someone there
to point things out. That certainly speeds it up.
Yeah, because
I think if you're on your own, you'd be able to do it. You just have to stay focused and constantly be watching. And okay, why did that? Like asking the why.
And that's it. I mean, I used to just sit in our horses' fields when they're grazing, watch them grazing.
Yeah.
You know, the head would go up, and I'd be looking to see what had caught their eye. You know, a cyclist down, you know, way down the road or something. You know, it's just, I don't know. I think it's really interesting. I think that's part of why I like to watch animals.
Yes.
You know, watch how they're behaving. I mean, me and my mum, we saw a wolf, my first wolf sighting the other day, and it was amazing because the wolf wanted to watch us. It was quite a bold wolf, so this wasn't a fleeting wolf sighting, but it would stop, watch us for a bit, and then think, you know, I don't know what it thought, but I think it thought, I'm going to move a little further away, and then it would stop, look back, you know, that curiosity. Yeah. You know,
do you think sometimes a little bit that's like, I'm going to move a bit further away. Okay, now I want to see what they did.
Nothing.
Did they follow me? Did they not follow me?
So we had this amazing sighting, we think, with a young wolf that you've seen before. Yeah. Because he just seems to be, or he or she, I didn't actually see, just kind of a little bit bolder, but wary, just curious. I think young curiousness.
Young and curious, yeah.
And obviously not being hunted and harassed, so just was all right to observe us at a certain distance, and we were in a truck, and we observed them. So yeah, but understanding even there how you're influencing the animal, you know.
Yes, well, what was that you were at where they took some people and their dogs into a field of sheep?
Yeah, I've talked about that before as well. You know, it's really interesting. That's what I'm saying. If someone wanted to learn about behavior, and like they wanted to work with cattle, like to walk into a field of cows or walk into a field of horses and understand, or sheep, whatever, like those sort of herd animals, and see
where you affect them,
when you affect them, how you affect them, how you can not affect them. Yeah,
because that's one of the fine arts of handling cattle, is it takes very small movements.
Oh yeah. When we're I love it. It's a dance. When we're sorting in a pen and you've got someone working a gate, it's like you're doing a dance with, and if it's me and you, we've been working together for so long, we're doing this like unchoreographed dance of, oh, this one, let that one through, no, that one, you just move back and forwards like half meter, quarter meter. The tiniest amount.
There's communication in it. I was thinking about this the other day. So I was drawing off some cows and calves. I was splitting them up for the day. And I was just on my own, so I was at the gate. But every now and again, you'd get a cow that would look at you and she'd be like, I'll come through the gate. And you could just give her an opening with your body language and she'd push past everyone else. But she asked
Yeah.
the question.
Yeah.
You know, she would look like me.
Yeah.
Yep, you.
Yeah.
And
I love that because it's such a raw connection.
yeah.
And I just love that feeling where you're just communicating with another animal and just being able to, and that's the joy for me with working with cattle sometimes is that sort of connection and communication.
Yes.
You know, that sort of, oh, you're going to come, okay, here you are, you know.
I actually saw a really funny moment when we were working them. We're putting all the cows through to check if they're pregnant or not. And we've got a new handling system and what they call a crowding tub, which is sort of a semicircular design. So it's all about flow. It's all about cows just wanting to follow around circles and things. So they naturally kind of walk around it and into the system themselves. But you get a few when they get into the narrower section that'll reverse out of it. So usually you'll shut a gate or something behind them so they can't reverse out and they can just walk straight through and out. So the gate was shut and there was one cow left in this tub and there was another guy there working with me and she was sort of pacing around and looking and trying to work. She was trying to work out what to do. And it's all big, high, solid sides. So the only way they can see is the way they're meant to go, which makes it easier for them to understand. So she was working around. And then she's like, okay, I see this is a gate and that's the way everyone else went and that's the way I should go. But the gate's shut. And then she looked straight at the person and then looked straight at the gate and then looked straight at the person and then looked.
It's like, you could open
and
this.
I could see her saying, if you open this gate, I'll walk through it.
Yeah.
Then. Yeah. But the other person didn't see that.
Yeah, missed it, yeah.
And I didn't say anything because I was curious to see if they saw it or how things would pan out. But yeah, I could see her sitting going,
yep.
Are you going to open this for me now? Like,
and
hello?
that's the funniest thing is when you start getting into observing and using a better connection with animals is that you see and hear so much more. Yeah. Like they're hugely communicative. And you know, people think that cattle aren't able to communicate or anything like that, but you know, we see it all the time. Yeah. All the time. And that's because we're connecting in and listening and observing it all,
and
you know.
When you think about that, it's such a different experience.
Yeah, because they're domesticated to some, because they're used to humans.
Yeah.
But they're not like your dog that lives in the house.
Yeah.
You know, this is...
But even with your dog that lives in the house, if your level of feel and understanding with them is that level that they can look you dead in the eye
and, you know
and you're like, you want a drink of water or you want out or you...
The water bowl's empty or...
that's
you know what it is.
If you can understand that, and even though you can't explain it, like that's such a different experience to just owning a dog. Yeah. Yeah. Or a horse or a cow.
And it's what I'm all about. I feel that everyone can do it. Everyone connect with their animals on that deeper level. Everyone can communicate on a much deeper level than they could ever imagine. If we just get out of our own human way and be more the way of the animal, we would be doing it all the time, and actually it would just be an easier life in a way because you just know what's going on a lot more, you know?
It would be, and you're definitely better at it than I am. But even my dull senses can...
No, I don't think that's true. I think you're just as good, it's just you like to berate yourself. So, yeah.
But yeah.
That's interesting. I definitely think everyone can do it. And actually the funniest thing is like they just get out of their own way.
Yeah.
You know, that's the funniest thing, you know, and by that I just mean like get out of their head, get out of all the emotions and the troubles that are in them and just connect with life in a deeper way.
Be, don't do.
Be, yep. All about how you're being. Yep. The subtleties.
Yeah. It's an interesting thought. And I think it's interesting to try and explain to someone who doesn't understand.
Yeah, I can understand that. And I think though part of it is like people need to want to take that further.
That's it.
And if they don't, then they're not going to want to learn or see or hear.
I could understand that people would, like that cow, would watch that cow and not see that she was
but
asking
you
the
would
question.
have people, though, that would, if you pointed out, would be, oh, that's so amazing, you know? And then you'd have people who'd be like, no, you know.
And not everyone's, especially with cattle and things, not everyone's like that. Some of the more nervy ones are not at all like that.
No.
But it happened, she's a very quiet cow anyway.
Yeah.
But,
yeah, it's just, you know, that's it.
But yeah. Interesting.
Good topic. Thank you.